Good morning. It's August 9th. Much cooler today, and it rained last night, which was nice. Quite damp. It's Monday, so that means a walk along the creek in some fashion, and possibly a little shorter one. I have to be back at the house by a certain time, so. But at least it's also cloudy, so I should be able to read comments. If anybody says hi this morning. I mentioned yesterday I was up to 100 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and I'm up to 102 as of this morning, so woohoo! They're just flying in. So once the walk is over, I'm going to be working on the Tangled Stars. I think I might get to the end of it today. This draft, this revision pass. I've already started my final pre-submission revision pass from the other end, reading it out loud, which is a great way, if you're a writer, to get a feel for your book. It forces you to read every word, and you find things that way that your eyes don't see. We're going to just go straight down here and go up onto the dike, I think, to start today. Hi, Roger. It's refreshingly cool this morning. Oh, there's Kirk Vancouver, so both YouTube and Facebook are working. Cool today. Warms up again. The weekend's supposed to be quite hot again, 34, 35. There is some more rain in the forecast tomorrow, so at least we're getting some moisture, which we haven't had a lot of recently. This morning it's cool enough to start to think, oh, fall's not that far away, is it? Tomorrow's supposed to be 9. Row houses passing the porch. That one, second one over. I walked over the footbridge on the way back on today's walk. I'm going to walk. Reverse my flow. Reverse the polarity in Star Trek terms. That always seems to do the trick. This is Cameron, so the footbridge is right down there. I edited 2 or 3 more stories for the anthology over the weekend, the Shapers of Worlds Volume 2 anthology. I was editing the reprint story from Barbara Hambly yesterday, and who else did I look at? Jeffrey A. Carver. There's another one. Oh, Brian Thomas Schmidt. So I think those are the 3 that I was editing over the weekend. I now have the complete list of story titles. I haven't posted it on my website yet. I put it on the Kickstarter page and Facebook. And found I made 2 mistakes the first time I posted it. I left off one guy's name, Jeremy Saul. Just in the process of making it in alphabetical order, I somehow that little house there, the gray one with the peaked roof. I used to live there. It's the house I lived in when I first came to this neighborhood. So I would have lived there for 5 years, maybe even 6. Can't remember how long I lived out on Sherwood Drive. When I first moved to town, I lived up in the northwest. Well, not the extreme northwest, but Sherwood Drive, just west of McTavish, I guess, in an apartment building. But I was very happy to find this place to rent down in this neighborhood. The first time I drove down into this neighborhood, I thought, wow, I like this. The trees and didn't know at the time I was going to marry somebody that also lived in the neighborhood, and that I'd end up living in the neighborhood for the rest of my time in Regina. So we were within easy walking distance of each other's house during our courting days. All right, here's the creek. It's Monday. I'll walk along the creek. Oh, I see a pelican over there. Oh. Hello, doing a little hunting. Meow. What are you after? He clearly saw something. I think that cat looks like one that lives on our street. Well, I don't think he's interested in walking with me. It's not the one that lives on our street. It's an awful lot like one that lives on our street. But it's a little far. I wouldn't expect him to be way over here. Had a collar. Our cat does not go outside, and he will live a longer, happier life because of it. Almost certainly. I can't even imagine letting him outside, not knowing if he'd come back in the next morning. There's the pelican over there. Fishing. Don't know if he's catching, but he's fishing. I know he's just a little white speck on the camera, but pelican, dog. There's always a dog. My second dog of the morning. One cat, 2 dogs, and a pelican. It's the animal count so far today. See that green layer of algae right under the bridge. Looks like you could walk on it, but I wouldn't recommend you try. We'll take the path here down by the Neobach Well. There's Regina Art Gallery in it. That's what that sign was telling you. And the artwork I've pointed out before, these two lined up right about there. It's the Neil Balkwell. It has studio space, and it used to have a dark room in it. I don't know if anybody still learns darkroom techniques here anymore. They're mostly used now by artists, I think. People that still want to shoot film. Artistic photographers. I'd love to try again, see if I still remember how to load a film reel by feel in a light-proof bag. Do a test strip on the enlarger. I remember the timing for the chemical baths. I think I'd want to look those up. Used to know it by heart. Used to develop probably half a dozen rolls of film a week at the Weyburn Review. Never did color. We didn't have color photography in the paper then. And I know that's a whole different process. So I wish I'd learned it at some point, but I didn't, and it doesn't seem much point now in the age of digital photography. It's a blue-green playground, which is funny because there's warnings this time of year about blue-green algae, but no warnings about blue-green playgrounds. They're perfectly safe for your dogs. Blue-green algae poisoning is a very real thing for dogs and other animals. It is toxic, or produces toxins anyway. I won't be walking through the grass today, too wet. Just walking along the park on this side and the houses on the other. Like one night of rain makes everything look greener. Alrighty, we'll go down this way, all the way to Elphinstone. Alongside the park. Sherman Park, I think it is, officially. Looks like they're sprinkling up here. Hope they're not sprinkling the sidewalk. There's 2 new stop signs along here. One at that corner, and another one up here, which never used to be here. Those are brand new. So they're clearly trying to slow traffic on this, which makes sense. It's kind of it does get more traffic than you might think because it leads you to the Louvain. So I certainly came this way every day I took my daughter to high school. Sprinklers. They do seem to be avoiding the sidewalk with these, which is nice. So this grass is getting a good drink since it rained last night as well. I don't think it was a heavy rain, but there's certainly puddles around here and there, so not just the kind of sprinkles we seem to be getting recently. Queen Street, on the other side of the park, on the other side of Regina Avenue, that would lead you to the Grow Regina Garden I visited a couple of times. And I found another community garden yesterday when I was out walking way up on the west end of town. I made it up almost as far as the Joanne Goulet golf course. Well, I did make it that far. I didn't go to it, but I was close to it. Anyway, there was a sort of right on the edge of town, there was a community garden plot. I don't know if it was, it didn't have a name on it like the Grow Regina one I walk by quite often. Yes, Les Sherman Park. I think missing a letter on the other sign that says something like Les She Ran Park or something like that, but don't know who Les Sherman was. At least he has his name in a park. And of course, directly ahead of us, coming into sight, hi Miriam. So we got India represented here too. Is Saskatchewan Express in the old school, and then apartments behind it. That's Pasqua up there. Pasqua Street. Ball Diamond. So the song running through my head today is Just Another Manic Monday, which seems appropriate. It's not a particularly manic Monday, but it is Monday. So Saskatchewan Express in the old school there. Youth performing company trains and also has a traveling performing troupe. I don't know what the status is of that. Probably not happening this summer, but. And then the gym has been turned into a pretty nice little theater. They've done shows in there, full-scale musicals. I've never been in one. And we did 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee in there, we being Regina Lake Musical Theater, which worked very well because, of course, it's set in a school just gymnasium where they're having a spelling bee, so it was the perfect setting for it, and a good production too. Crow up there having words. Blue van over there, and then the airport beyond it. Well, I guess that's not really looking at the airport there, a bit north of the airport. You can see the control tower. If you look really close, it'll be tiny on the screen. Those are buildings north of the airport. There's kind of an industrial area over there. Only time I've ever gone to it, there's a curling rink over there, which I've been in, and the FedEx building is over there. So been there a few times, picking things up or dropping things off, especially back when you had to send complete manuscripts, paper manuscripts, back and forth to publishers. Not so much now since everything can be done electronically. I did get my feet wet a little bit, so that's the Pasqua Street Bridge, and now we're right down by the creek. You see the algae over there on the other side. Don't see any pelicans or ducks or geese along here, but I'm sure there'll be some somewhere. Give this, what, 3 months, and this will probably be frozen. September, yeah, about 3 months, it'll be frozen. And I'll probably switch my walking time as it gets more into the winter, so you take advantage of whatever sunlight there is. And it's a little warmer, perhaps. Now I tend to go early because it's a little cooler. I will drop off here for a few days later this month. I've got some things coming up that will keep me from doing this. But don't worry, I'll be back. It'll only be for a few days. When is that? A couple of weeks? Yeah. So I'll be here for the next couple of weeks anyway, and then I'll miss a few days, which will be be the end of my rather impressive run. I'm at well over 150 consecutive days of walking now. I'll probably still walk, I just won't be recording because I can't spend the same amount of time on it. But anyway, don't worry if I seem to stop. I'll be back. It's the long and winding road. I actually encountered fewer walkers and dogs and bikers. Maybe though a little bit of wetness has kept them down. Having said that, here comes a bike. And then another one. They're mowing grass over there. There's the map. I still haven't really walked as far as I could up there in the northwest. And I haven't walked as far as I could in the, I think, in the southeast either, so. I could do a 5-hour walk from the northeast to the southwest, or vice versa. No, southeast to the northwest, or vice versa. But I don't know why I would. Not unless I ever got this to the point where I could make money at it. And as I said before, I think you need 1,000 subscribers, and I have 102, so got a ways to go. If I made money doing this, I'd be happy to do it more often and longer. There's the blue-green playground again I commented on before. This is our nearest approach to the path we were on before, so far. Guess we'll be closer when we're on the other side of the creek from it. It's the turtle. Never moves. It's a very slow turtle. Yeah, Wascana Park, it says on this side. I knew one of them was missing a letter. Not to be confused with Wascana Park, that'd be something else. Another jogger. Le Pont de Pied. Is that how you'd say footbridge? That would be the bridge of feet. Probably not what they say. Piedmont? All right, well, let's take our traditional look up and down the creek. So looking to the south, you can see the algae blooming along the sides. And did I say south? That is, of course, east. And looking to the west. See one bird out there, not as many as you sometimes see swimming along in here. I hear pigeons. Sounds like they're under the bridge. It is a lovely landscape. Completely artificial, as I always point out. Well, the creek, I guess, is natural. But the trees along it were planted, and the bushes along it might be natural, because the creek will bring along seeds and stuff. So you do get like willow bushes growing along creeks in Saskatchewan, and maybe the odd tree. But all of these trees were planted, and all the trees in the park over there were planted, and all these trees were planted. As you can see if you look at yesterday's walk out to the edge of town, or the other times I've reached the edge of town, Saskatchewan is not a place with trees in the south. Top 2/3 of the province are completely forested, but down here, we're the northern end of the Great Plains. Once underwater. And then, of course, like most of Northern America, well, most of the world, we were under a kilometer of ice during the Ice Age, so the last Ice Age and previous Ice Ages as well, I'm sure. Of course, with continental drift, you go far enough and back, and I think we were at the equator, but it's been a while. It's very nice this morning. Seems quieter. Maybe it's the moisture in the air subdues some of the traffic noise. I like gray, cool mornings. I like sunshine, but I like gray, cool mornings too. And rain, but it's hard to walk in this, do this in the rain. I worry about the not the camera so much. iPhones are fairly waterproof, but the gimbal, I wouldn't want it to get soaking wet. I don't suppose a little sprinkle hurts it, but I could put it in a plastic bag or something. I have come out and walked with an umbrella under quite heavy rain, so I could always walk under an umbrella if it's raining, which might be interesting, but it's a bit tiring. holding two things, especially if the wind's blowing and you're trying to Regina Horseshoe Club. I've only ever seen people playing horseshoes there once on one of these walks, and today's not it. And all the ball diamonds over here. Some of the nicer ball diamonds with lights and bleachers and so forth. Ted Watt Field, that one's called. Ted Watt Field. Ted Watt what? That's how it go. So we watched Tenet last night. I quite enjoyed that. Very, as a science fiction reader, I've read an awful lot of time travel stories, which is essentially what that is. It takes a slightly different approach to time travel. The grandfather paradox and all that stuff. I've been reading those kinds of stories for half a century now. But it was nice to see one brought to life. And of course, it's also very much like a James Bond film with, flying around the world and trying to save the world. And the guy's even a spy to start with. The protagonist, he doesn't have a name. I should do that. Just call my character the protagonist and the antagonist. I don't have to come up with a name. It is a beautiful day if you like a little gray and cool. Morning. Oh, that's a nice bit of graffiti. Jesus loves you. I'd rather see that. I'd rather not see any graffiti at all, but I'd rather see that than some of the stuff you see painted on sidewalks and walls. Another field. Oh, it even has advertising signs in the outfield. Boston Pizza and what the others are, I can't read them. And there's a clubhouse over here, and there's a batting cage. I walked by one at Pasco Street the other day, commented on it. There's concessions and dressing rooms and so forth. One is Waterfall Park. We will go down and take a look at the waterfall. Not at this entrance. Have to walk through the wet grass. Oh, Regina Kiwanis National Little League. So this is where the Little League players play. I played Little League. I was not good at it. Dad had thick glasses, bad depth perception. So I couldn't catch and I couldn't hit. Other than that, and I couldn't run. Other than that, I was pretty much the ideal Little League player. Flat feet, bad eyesight, no depth perception. I'm expecting to be called up to the majors any day now. I enjoyed playing catch, but I wasn't very good at it. I did have a baseball glove. We'll go down here and walk through the waterfall park. Hopefully it's not too muddy until I get to the sidewalk. We've been watching this grass grow. I mean, these flowers grow, grass too. Pretty much at their peak. They'll get a few weeks before the frost hits, sometime in September. Takes them all out. There's the waterfall. Frozen when I first started doing these walks. Oh, there's even a little bit of water in the creek, which only happens when there's been rain. This is actually a fountain, of course. It's not a natural waterfall. But I like it. People like to come down here and get wedding pictures taken sometimes. And these trees always remind me of the mountains, because I think they're lodgepoles, as opposed to the spruce that we get. Lodgepole pines, I mean. I think. Could be wrong. They could be spruce. How do I know? Now we'll head over to the footbridge and home. I guess I was hearing loud voices, but I guess they're on the other side of the river. I thought maybe they were on a boat. Sound just carries across the river or the creek. I think it's wide enough to call it a river, but it's called a creek. Into the footbridge. That's funny the way their voices are carrying. I can understand every word. Right over there. Maybe because she was jogging and was increasing the distance between them, she got louder. This is all Kiwanis Park. You see it on the sign there. Of course, over there is Lakeview neighborhood I walk in quite often. We'll go across the bridge here. And we have to take the traditional look at the creek from here too. So, looking that way, west, east, there's a few ducks. There's always a few ducks somewhere, way down there. And they cut down, well not cut down, but trimmed down all these bushes along here, which had been tall enough to form a wall. And I don't know why for sure, but I imagine it's for safety reasons, so you can see this path from the houses on the other side. Also, so you can see the creek as you walk along here. They'll come back. I don't know how long it took them to. I'm sure they've cut them down before. They'll be sizable again in next year and continue growing until they cut them down again. They leave them on that side. Garbage truck. Hopefully by the time I go out again they will have done our garbage, because I like to put it inside our fence as quickly as possible to avoid getting doggy baggies in it. we'll go down this one. I haven't gone down here for a while to head home. No, I'll go on. What time am I? Okay, I'll add just a little bit more and go down actually one further than I normally go on the dike. I have to be home by 9:30 and it's only 5 to 9, so. Your voices on the other side of the creek again. They're really carrying today. I wonder if the humidity has something to do with that as well. Although, earlier I was wondering if the humidity squelched the traffic sound, so you can't have both. I'd have to look that up. Does sound travel further in dry air or wet air? Sound travels very well underwater, but that's hardly the same thing as humidity. I'll look it up and get back to you. There's the Albert Street Bridge coming into sight up there. For a while I was getting unstable internet up here, and I suspect that was because of the big wall of bushes. But now that they've trimmed them down, I didn't see that at all on the last couple of walks along here. So, well, I never go down here. Let's go down here, down this alley. There's some nice setups in the backyard here because their fence lets you see into their backyard. Most of them don't. Gas line, I think this yellow dotted line is marking. It's nice to see the awnings. Most houses had them at one point. They're mostly gone. Our house had them at one point, long gone. We've talked about putting them back on. You don't really need them for, I like that one. It has that kind of Elizabethan look. I almost never walk down the street because Frutalic is actually behind me. You don't need the awnings to keep the heat out so much anymore, if you got air conditioning at least. But it was a look. We'll go this way. It was a very common look, and it's certainly retro, but attractive, as that house showed. When you walk down the alleys, you feel like you're in a whole different neighborhood if you don't do it very often. Most of the older houses in this neighborhood would have been built in the 20s or the teens at the earliest. So they're all about 100 years old, give or take. The older ones. There are some brand new ones, of course. So now we're on Leopold Crescent. And we'll go left because I don't usually walk along Leopold. That one's quite striking because it's easy to see. It has this fountain in the front. Interesting architecture as well. Must be in my book. I'd have to look it up. I've been in that one. I assume the same people still live there. I haven't been there for a while. through school connection. They would occasionally have events. Of course, this is the one I mentioned where they shot a movie back in the 90s with Linda Carter in it. That was the house they used. Exterior and interiors, I believe. And they dressed up our neighborhood like an American neighborhood, so we had, well, I wasn't living in quite this close. I was at that house back on Garnet Street. But there were like, you know, American cop cars and American mailboxes around. Just for movie purposes. Don't remember the name of the movie. I just know it had Linda Carter in it and it was shot in Regina. It shouldn't be too hard to Google. I think it was a TV movie. All right, well, I always stop here, so I will again. So thanks for walking with me on a Monday walk along the creek. Whether you were with me live or watching the recording, that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Bye.